Hi, Nicola here from My Kind of Future with your Week 2 City and Guilds Team Challenge update. Hopefully you've had a really successful couple of sessions and you're really starting to build work for yourselves as a team now. Maybe you're watching this because you're panicking and you're thinking, right, we really need to get on task now, make sure we know what we're doing. Possibly you're watching this because you've been sick and you've missed the session, so thank you for catching up. But hopefully you're watching this just to better support the work that you've done in your week 2 session. Okay, so let's crack straight on. Today's was Get Set. You are obviously working towards the Olympics, and we've just been giving you a little bit of a recap here. I won't go through all of these, but it's good for you to know you've always got this recap if you need it. Just want to see the slides, exactly what the prize is or exactly what that brief is. Particularly actually if I just go back, the brief is really important to keep in mind, because what can happen is once you start working as a team and you can end up going really far down a path and then realise you've actually forgotten what was originally asked of you. So do bear that in mind. Last week's session saw you look at health and well-being surrounding the games. So you should now have a good awareness of Rio 2016. You should know the Olympic motto and have a selection of athlete profiles, as well as have an ambassador for your youth production as well. So those decisions are now made. In week 2 session, we're pushing you on a little bit further. So you're going to assign roles, choose a genre, and decide on your TV show what exactly is it. Now, there's a really good reason why we didn't want you to develop an idea for a TV show first thing on week 1, because there is a lot of groundwork and a lot of things to get in place really before you can make a really good go of that. However, we are going to start on that with this week 2 session. So let's get cracking. Your team discussion. Hopefully this went well. You were thinking about what you know about 14 to 19-year-olds. These are your target market. That means that's the group of people that you are targeting your TV show at. It's very helpful that probably most of you fall into that bracket, or have certainly been through that age bracket, and you'll have a good awareness of the sorts of things that are popular at the moment, what is trending, what's really not trending, what do they watch, what magazines, blogs do they read, what do they spend their money on, and what interests them overall. Again, if you've mind mapped this and you've got this on a piece of paper, then please add that to your folder. Again, it's really easy, just take a snapshot on your phone and email that to yourself so you've got it on record, but then add it to your USB if you're doing everything digitally as well. Okay, if your audience took one thing away from watching your show, what would you want it to be? Now again, it's fine that at this point you don't know what your show is, because you're getting in place the overall mission or vision of your show. Maybe you want to be all about travel, maybe it's about aspirations on career options, or maybe it's all about showing off how amazing Rio is as a city. There are so many different directions you can go in with this, so really encourage you as a team to find something that you're all quite passionate about and that you think, actually, yeah, we can really get stuck into that. Okay, then you were in your teams, you thought about different genres. So some nice examples here. Maybe you caught David Beckham's biking around Rio when that was on. You can probably find that on YouTube if you didn't see it. Maybe you want to go down the cookery route for your show. British Bake Off is obviously one of BBC's most popular shows, and that's been running of recent weeks, so it's clearly a popular route in to get people's attention, actually, of all ages. And then back at the last Olympics, 2012 was a sitcom. You might have been shown a few clips of this in your session today. Again, if you just have a look on YouTube, there are loads of short 3-minute clips to give you an idea of a completely different genre, a completely different way to go with this brief that you have. Okay. Your crew. So Your task in week 2 has been to research lots of different roles, lots of different parts of a production crew for your chosen genre specifically. So you've chosen the genre that you think is most going to appeal to not only your target market, but also you as a team in producing that. It's really important to remember that you're not producing the whole show. We're not asking you with this challenge to go away and come back with 6 half-hour episodes, but actually we want you to come up with a really detailed proposal. So that's everything that, if the BBC chose you as a winning team, that's everything you promise to put in place for them, promise to achieve. So it's really important that you know what role you're taking responsibility for. But the reason we say that is you don't have to panic if no one in your team fancies being cameraman or camerawoman. That doesn't mean you're fundamentally flawed because you're not going to be able to film it. Obviously, if you win this overall fictional pitch, the BBC would give you lots of their own personnel to fill in the gaps that you don't have. What we want you to do is choose a role that you think really will suit you as a person and bring out the best in you. So we gave you some examples. Hopefully you've been off researching as well throughout week 2. So you maybe are the director, maybe you thought about being the costume designer, a location manager, or a production manager. Now it's really good actually to get to know what all of these roles are and how they relate to each other. Obviously, as I've said, you don't need to be experts in this, but ultimately you're fighting to be able to pitch this idea in front of the BBC. They will be very, very aware of all of these roles and how they work and where they're placed in a team. So it's just great to keep in mind that's an area where you can really impress them if you've shown that you've thought about where you suit within the team and what roles are going to be covered within your team as well. So you should have hopefully have chosen in the session what role you're going to take. Maybe you kind of got it down to 2 and you weren't sure, or maybe someone else actually in the group took the role that you wanted. If that's the case, someone got director, well maybe actually you be an assistant director and you'll work very closely together. There are ways to actually not lose out on the role you were interested in. But likewise, it might be a case of saying, okay, I will step down from that and I'll step up because we need someone on this side of things as well. You need to understand that role fully. So even though today has been an opportunity to choose what you're going to do, we would expect you to go away and just put together, I guess, a little pack for yourself with bullet points of key skills that are needed and things that you need to be aware of to do your role, but also to tell us how that works for your production company. This will be added to as the weeks progress once you know exactly what your TV show is, but it's no good to just say, I'm Nicola and I'm the director. What we want to see is, I'm Nicola, I'm taking responsibility for being director of our show, and that means because our show is a sitcom, I will be responsible for this, this and this. So you know exactly and very specifically what you can bring to your idea. Okay, so so think towards your show as a whole, and if this was really being produced, what you would be adding to it. Okay. Lots of details to decide on about your show. Again, these may change, but it will depend on what sort of show you are producing. Is it an Only Way is Essex style, very glamorous, very popular? Is it more of a match of the day, very informative, sort of studio-based show? Or something like Jackass, maybe it's Olympic bloopers of the past, maybe Olympic challenges. If there were no rules in the Olympics, what would it look like? You know, there is, again, lots of options to go down, but answering these questions will help you really give an identity to your show and keep it very unique, actually, to you guys as a team. Then we want you to think about who you're catering for. So is it just one sector of society? Youth is a very broad market. You need to consider whether your show will appeal to all areas of society or about different parts of the UK. So you might be actually, without realising, really gearing your show towards a London market, and you think, well, actually this is going to go to Nottingham, it's going to go to Sheffield, it's going to go to Edinburgh. You need to make sure that you're not alienating anyone in that process. What about people from different experiences or different backgrounds? It doesn't mean you can't make specific choices, but you need to just show us, and when you pitch your ideas, that you've considered everyone within that as well. And that comes down to social responsibility as well, and this will tie in quite nicely. So hopefully, if this was a new term to you, you've learnt a little bit about what this means today. But as it says here, the idea that companies should embrace its social responsibilities and not be solely focused on making profits. Social responsibility entails developing businesses with a positive relationship to the society in which they operate. So that means this is a huge concern and huge priority at the moment for Rio, as they're taking on this huge undertaking, and it's going to massively impact the city. So they have to be sure that they're doing it for the right reasons, and it's not going to be a great games, but at the cost of the livelihood of the people who live there and have always lived there, for example. So to give you some examples of this, we thought a little bit about London 2012 and actually promises that were made back in 2005, and that's as far in advance as they plan to pitch the games. You might have come up against a little bit of this in your research. But also different businesses that have to model this as well. So Nestle is a great example, huge global company, but they are constantly having to prove that the way they handle their business and the reasons behind everything they do are justified. So hopefully that was quite interesting for you. But thinking about social responsibility, particularly in Rio, the people, the places and the environment. It might be something that you're quite passionate about actually, and you feel quite strongly towards one way or the other. Is it right that the games are held there? Is it actually fantastic for them because they're going to have all this new infrastructure and all of this great tourism and people coming to the city that perhaps would never have otherwise gone? How's it going to impact them? So again, keep a note of these considerations so that you can say at your pitch in week 6, actually, we really considered that the impact this might have on Rio as a city, and that's reflected in our TV show. And then, Rio is miles and miles away. Think about your local area as well. It's going to have national coverage, but we want you to be able to say, we've got a local area involved. So that might be to do with where you film, or where you've set a particular drama, and it might be to do with who you interview or who you get on board, which companies are supporting you. It might be that you use, your show's all about interviewing local businesses and letting them show what impact they're having on their local town. Okay, and finally you're going to commit to being socially responsible as a team. So it's not just something we're throwing in there to tick a box and say you've thought about. Actually, this is going to be running through the heart of what you stand for as a production company. What can your company promise in order to maintain good relationships with the people and places affected by your TV production? Now, you will know if your TV production actually is very small, very close-knit team, not going to impact many people, or is this a huge scale thing? Actually, you need to be filming in schools and shopping centres, and those sorts of things will impact towns. So who will be impacted, and write down 3 commitments that show you to be a considerate company. So that might be, well, we're going to commit to recycle everything that we use, food and drink wise. It might be through to actually how you use your show once it's published, once it's produced. Again, keep a record of all of these notes, research outside of class time, and keep bringing things to the table. Keep everything on record. It's really, really important, and enjoy researching your roles this week.